Elaine here, back with Neon Owl here on GCTV. We are here with Drums of the Sun. We have Bam Bam Buddha, aka Neil. We have Louis in the house. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now that it's been, has it 2 weeks? 2 weeks since Groove Cruise? How are you guys feeling?
It's a letdown when you come home. You're so used to being involved in so many different things and friends and conversations, and it's just an overload of the senses. And you get back, and there's really nothing to replace that. I mean, I've DJed a few times back here in Miami, and good parties, but it's just not Groove Cruise, and I don't have Bam with me. Bam and I basically travel. We do some stuff in Chicago for his birthday, but it's just not the same. I guess bigger DJs maybe could say they get the same feeling when they're doing a festival, because really that's the only thing that could replace Groove Cruise is a bigger festival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I feel like it's a little different because we're all like immersed for like a week.
It's much more bigger. So for instance, there's nothing in that in between where it's the size of the cruise. You either have bigger that can replace it in the sense of the sensory overload, or you have everything that's smaller that really can't add up to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the after effect of it, right? Just because it's like, now I'm coming back to reality. So it's like, it's a nice break. I enjoy the moment where I can turn my phone off. I don't use the Wi-Fi. I don't use anything. I turn it on in Bahamas just to check in with my family and whatnot. But then, when I come back, then I got to get back to working. So it's kind of like, that's my vacation. Groove Cruise is obviously the performance is number one, but I also use it as a vacation and break from the real world.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's already talking about October. So I'm going to guess it's safe to say y'all will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been on about, I want to say 5-6 Groove Cruises alone. Not every single one, but I think since 2015, 16-ish. And I remember, like, I don't know the exact year that you guys started playing on Groove Cruise, but I thought it was just the way it all happened and the community and how supportive they've been. You guys are like one of the hottest acts on ship, and I brought some of my friends actually to come see you guys. They're like, what is this happening here? And we saw you at the Solarium. I know you played multiple times, but I'd love to just kind of hear from the both of you how that came about, like you two, and how the Groove Cruise Drums of the Sun fam has grown over the years.
So we started on Groove Cruise in 2010. So Louis and I did not know each other. I had gotten booked separately. Louis had gotten booked separately. One of the biggest questions was, who am I going to perform with? A lot of the artists on the ship I already knew, I'm friends with, I've played with them. And then it just kind of happened by chance that New Year's Eve before, Louis and I were actually booked at the same party, but in a different room. So, but the next day I got booked to play with Louis, and we started playing, and then we just clicked. And Louis has always been all about playing with instrumentalists and so forth, musicians and drummers, violinists. You got it. So we instantly clicked. He told the talent buyer, like, look, I'll play with them. So it worked out, and then that's kind of how we got our start. And then it's grown. Before, actually, for the first 4 or 5 years, we just went by, hey, Louis D and Bam Bam Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have Drums of the Sun. Yeah. And in 2015, we decided, okay, I think we have to come up with the name. Louis came up with the name.
I gave him all. Maybe my first one.
I give him all the credit because we went back and forth, and I was like, I can't think of anything creative. So Louis is the one that came up with that name, and it's grown. I mean, we love doing it, especially on Groove Cruise, just because we've grown our network with friends, fans, and the love that we see, that when they come out, we feed off their energy, right? And that's the main reason we do what we do. We just love the music and just make people happy.
When they had approached me about Bam, I did play with him that time, but I won't mention any names in terms of other DJs. But when I was talking to the talent buyer at that time, he had mentioned that a couple of DJs really didn't want to play with a musician, where that was something that I've always thought really brought more to a DJ's set. We're DJs, and people tend to sometimes associate us with musicians, but we're very different. You know what I mean? We're very different in terms of what we hear in our ear for DJs and what we're playing and what we're trying to put together in terms of a puzzle, in terms of music and sound and energy. And I've always had nothing but the utmost respect for musicians. I think I personally think they're more talented than DJs. So having a talented musician just makes everything that much better. And I played with a percussionist before, and like you said, a violinist, but a percussionist really brings it because of the style of music that I play in terms of a more Latin-y, organic, tribal sound. I mean, yes, I play a lot of tech house, but I kind of stayed in my roots, and that's kind of what's always been big in Miami. I mean, that's what kind of makes Miami special. Is you come down here and you have that particular sound. I mean, granted, Afro house is big everywhere now because of COVID and people going to Tulum and listening to that style of house music again and it being kind of organic. But I've been playing that for 10 years. You know, maybe not as deep, but in terms of energetic and the same type of sound. Pretty much, I've always played that kind of style, and Bam had just really just jumped in and just grooved with me. It just worked. You know, so that's how I kind of.
So then, you know, just doing that, like when or what moment did you guys decide, okay, let's create like a name for us, and why Drums of the Sun?
Well, for us, I mean, it was kind of long, you know, we were going Louis V, Bam Bam Buddha, and it was kind of taking up a lot of space on
the flyer?
On the flyers and stuff like that, and having them to have to put that name everywhere. Not to mention, we figured that it was time for people to know us as being together, because he still does shows in Chicago under Bam Bam, and I do shows in Miami under Louis D, and we still do a separate thing because that's how we started. But we wanted a name that kind of grasped both of us. So at that point in time, we would just discuss the fact that we should come up with a name and actually start showing that we do this together, we travel, and we do some stuff together, and see where it goes from there and takes off. The Drums of the Sun thing was just, you know, considering I'm not that original when it comes to names, you know, I just wanted to incorporate something that was kind of cool. You know, I thought of Sundance and other parties I had heard of and been a part of here in Miami. And just drums, and I was like, Drums of the Sun, it just flows, it just, you know, it comes off correctly, and then, you know, we got the logo done and it just seemed to work, you know, that the whole gold theme and the sun, and it just works. It's a happier vibe. It's not meant to be dark or for someone to get too underground of a feeling, because we can adjust to where we're at. I've never been one to just say I play tech house or I play mainstream house. I pretty much play, you know, what I'm feeling. I do have a style, but it's what I'm feeling and what I see. I don't have a preset that I'm gonna play, and I know, oh, I'm playing these 10 songs, because I may play 3 songs within to that and be like, it's not working and I need to adjust. And so I never go in with this idea that it's always gonna be this way. You know, I'm very open, and I have songs that I love that sometimes are mainstream, and I'll go out of my way to find a mix that fits into how I play. But you know, I'm open to playing whatever we're feeling at the time. And I know Bam just feeds off of that, and he can go in any direction I'm going in. So it kind of works to have the freedom of what I'm playing, knowing that he can be there.
Do you think that takes like a certain like skill? Because you also had mentioned, you know, maybe some DJs aren't comfortable with playing with another instrumentalist.
Well, there are 2 things to that. One, there's a certain ear for it, because it's not easy to have another instrument in your ear while you're mixing, especially when you first learn how to mix. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, so I can mix almost blindfolded. I mean, but at the same time, for guys that really are trying to do certain things, it can be difficult at times if you have something else in your ear or going on at the same time. The second reason why it's difficult for some guys, and you know, again, you know, there's some guys that have an attitude, or they're divas or have an ego, and they want to be the show. So when they see something else taking away from them, they don't feel as comfortable. Like, I don't have a problem. Like, for instance, this group cruise, where the DJ booth was set up in the pool, you really couldn't see the DJ unless you were.
Yeah, so I didn't see you. Like, I didn't physically see you, but I knew you were there, obviously.
Right. So at that point in time, I have to be okay with the fact that Drums of the Sun is real Neel, is Bam. You know, everyone that's looking is seeing Bam. You know, there are a lot of times that we go places and they're like, oh, he's the DJ because you can't see me. You know what I am. And as a DJ, you have to be okay with that. If you have any type of ego, it's going to bother you that you're not being seen or not being appreciated for what you play, rather than having someone who's the forefront and everyone sees him up front and everyone hears him up front, and he has the energy going on because of the movement. I'm not one to jump around in the DJ booth and be like, hey, look at me up here. Like, that's not my style. That may be others. I'm not an entertainer that way. But so it takes a little bit of all of those things. It takes a little bit of being okay with having something else going on, take some concentration in that. And it takes, putting your ego aside and playing with a partner and understanding that they can get either more or just as much attention as you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that, right? I mean, it's just, for us, it's always been everyone. I'm more up close and personal with people, right? But I always make it a point. It's not me, it's us, right? It's always, that's what a duo is. It's not one person or the other. If it's an individual act, yeah, obviously, right? But for both of us, it's about us, right? And we feed off each other, and then we feed off the crowd. I feed off because I'm closer sometimes, like the pool deck set. I was right there. I could feed off that energy. A little bit harder for Louis because he's back there, but he has a whole viewpoint of what's going on and how the crowd is. Me, I have only kind of what's in front of me. I don't see the overall high level, like, oh my God, look at this crowd. But I just feed off the energy, music, and he does the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So of all the events you guys have played together, do either one of you have a favorite moment?
Neel?
Favorite moment, I think, God, there's a bunch of sets to think about. This is a tough question.
You're like, there's only like 100 sets to think about.
I think for us, I think it was when we did our first stage. So in 2020, we asked if we could do a stage, and we got the, we wanted to do it. Other people have been doing stages. We wanted to do, it was called the drum circle. We wanted to bring the essence of a drum circle, not obviously with hundreds of drums, right? Because I'm the one playing, but we wanted to bring that essence. And, we did it outside, kind of like the solarium. The solarium a little bit, but when we did it in 2020, we did it in the back deck. Mm-hmm. And it was just, the essence of it, it was also a full moon that night. I think that might be one of our favorite events because it went really, really well. And the way I was set up is normally I would be right next to Louis or I'd be in front of him. Obviously with the pool deck is a little bit different, just the logistics. But this one, I was in the middle of the crowd. So I was pretty much, Louis was in the booth, and then I was like in the middle of the crowd and just all around me. And then of course the crowd was in front of him. It was different. And I think that might be probably one of the most ones I remember the most.
Going with Neel, when he mentioned that, I would agree. We had Roger Sanchez as well as our guest DJ that time. Yeah. But more importantly, what I enjoy about those sets, at least for me as a DJ, is that, sometimes depending on where you booked and who's before or after you can dictate how you have to start. So, if Groove Cruise is kind of odd that way, that, you can have a trance DJ before you, like we did on the pool. So obviously I can't start the way maybe I would normally want to start for myself, because I'm coming after that. I'm coming after someone who's playing, he was playing 142 beats a minute. I'm playing 124 tops. So it's different in terms of energy. And the idea of the drum circle was to give us a time frame to book people that were like-minded in music and to create a sound that's not created anywhere else on the ship. No one else on the ship does what we do or plays the way I do. You have guys that are similar. Like I said, I do play some tech house, but no one really stays within that Latin kind of Afro house mode that is a pretty dominant sound in how I play. And I wanted to create a atmosphere musically with them that was like that the entire time, rather than having trance and then tech and then somebody coming in and playing more mainstream and then someone comes in and plays Swedish House Mafia. Like, I didn't want that for 6 hours. I really wanted to have a party that flowed the entire time. Mm-hmm. And although I think other people do stages and I think they're great for what they are, they have a bunch of mishmash DJs. They're booking friends that they like and people that can bring people. The intent of ours isn't to have that. It really is to have a flow when people go there and show up, that's the sound. So they can walk away somewhere else in Groove Cruise and be like, you know what, I want that vibe. That's the vibe I want. And they can come back 2 hours later and still have that vibe. It's still there. It's not all of a sudden some other random DJ playing a million vocals that we all heard before or the certain tracks that you would expect. And that's another thing. I don't want to play all the tracks that you would expect someone to play at a pool. Like, I get it if I was someone like a Gorgon City that played, that had an amazing set, but you're going to hear his songs. You're going to hear that type of sound all the time. I don't want that. I want it to be different. I want to sound different, even if it means that, someone walked away and doesn't know every song I play. I want them to know that when they come hear us, that we are different. We are separate from what other people do. I'm not just there to appease you to play some song that you can sing along to. I'm there to hopefully bring you on some type of journey that you feel something different. That's what I think you can take away. Anyone can play certain songs and you'd be like, oh, it's amazing. And I love singing that song. And you're so happy. And don't get me wrong, I could do it too. I could be on a stage and be happy. But do they create an experience for you that isn't an experience that anyone can create? You know what I mean? At least that's what we try to accomplish, and that's the intent.
Yeah. How's you guys' workflow together? Like, I can't even really imagine. Like, do you guys prep stuff like well in advance? You kind of go with the flow?
No, so never.
No?
We get asked a question. I've never, even before Louis and other DJs, I've never once ever rehearsed with anybody. I've been asked, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I improvise. Just like a DJ, right? A lot of them have some sets set, made, whatever. They're preparing. They have the music selection. DJs also have to read the crowd, right? So sometimes, as Louis mentioned earlier, sometimes he's got to change the approach that he had thought about going in just based on the crowd. With me, it's as a musician, I just improvise. I don't know what he's going to play. I mean, there's some tracks will, it'll be like, hey, what do you think about this sound? And how would it go? Or thing like that. And I'll take a listen to it, but then I don't know when it's coming. He may not even play it, right, at all. And that's what I love about it, because it's the entire set is improvised. So he's playing whatever he's playing. We don't discuss. Louis is never like, okay, I'm starting with X song and then Y song and Z song, right? No, it's just, let's just do it. Let's just go. And then I just go with it the entire time.
Yeah, and that's built on trust, and that's built on him being an amazing musician. I mean, that's what you're trusting within someone like that. If you're working with someone often and you really didn't have that vibe, you'd probably have to practice or have to discuss things more. Mm-hmm. But we really just go along with how we're feeling and how we play. And like I said, he can play to really anything, let alone. But I think for the way I play, it just works well regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And he can feel how I'm playing. I think any DJ, if you pay attention to them long enough, if you hear someone often enough, you can tell what kind of mood they're in. You can tell what kind of energy that they have. There's definitely a nuance to it that if you pay attention to it, if you're a real fan, mm-hmm. you know when someone's playing a certain way. You can hear it in the sounds. I mean, just like colors have moods, and music has moods, and there are certain sounds and melodies, and they definitely create a mood and an atmosphere and a feeling.
Yeah. Wow. That's like, so you guys are like super in sync. I was curious. I'm like, oh, like, do they talk about this? Like, they're just vibing for like hours. I'm like, there's like zero preparation. Like,
the only thing we know is like, this is our set time and this is how long our set is. I'm like, okay.
Right, let's do it. We tell each other, let's bring it before.
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
So one of my friends, Sam Trivecta, who also performed on Ship. So Neel, he has a question for you. He wants to know if you've seen Gospel Chops.
I have not.
Okay. Anyway, check them out on YouTube. It's like really cool. Like,
definitely.
They're like drummers, and then like it's like gospel music. Anyways, he wanted me to ask you that. So I was like, all right.
No, yeah, definitely. I will check it out. I'll tell him thanks for the recommendation. I'll definitely check it out. For me, musically, right? My background's, I've done everything. So it's like, for me to hear other genres, I appreciate it. I've never, like, for example, I've never been a fan of country music. Mm-hmm. And so, but I've gone to country concerts, and then they're like I saw Garth Brooks play. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, it's Garth Brooks. I'm like, yeah, he was good. It's Garth Brooks. But the entire time I was watching his drummer. So anytime I go to a concert, like I always just look at the drummer and I'm like, oh my God, like this drummer is amazing. So, and that gives me inspiration, because it's always like, you're always trying to get better, right? So it always gives you inspiration to work harder and keep on practicing. As my mom always yells at me, she's like, you never practice enough. So
working with each other, you guys probably have gotten to know each other very well. So what is 3 words that you would use to describe the other person?
Neil's social. He's funny, and he likes to drink.
I'll take that as one word. Yeah. Awesome. Social, funny, likes to drink.
And you know what? He's probably the most warm-hearted person I know. I mean, there's a lot to him, but anyone that's around him knows how giving and hospitable and just a great friend, really.
Yeah.
Better person than me.
What's your drink of choice, Neil?
What's my normal drink of choice is vodka soda.
Okay.
But
What's your abnormal
my,
drink of choice?
my vice probably is tequila. So
Okay.
no, for Louis, you know, I mean, 3 words, right? I mean, definitely very humble. You know, he's very humble, very caring. You know, sometimes Louis is kind of like, he's very reserved, but he's got the biggest heart, you know, and you know, he's been a big brother to me. So, you know, it's one of my best friends, but he's always been a big brother to me. He'll tell me things straight, right? And that's what I love about him. And you know, he's so passionate about music, right? He has that ear, like his music selection is awesome, you know. But you know, overall, and Louis has kind of always been, I think Louis has always been the reserved, you know, kind of in the background, and I'm kind of like, you know, I'll talk to everybody, and you know, and all this other stuff.
That's how we started talking.
He's getting more about that. So we have a joke because Louis would never smile, right? And a lot of the DJs, I think people on the cruise do. But so one of the hashtags, whenever we post anything, he loves shivas, so that's his drink of choice. So now I created 2 hashtags because now pictures come out that Louis is smiling, and we're like, Louis D smiling is the hashtag, and powered by shivas. So, and for us, when we do our extended sets, I'm like, people are like, well, you want to play a longer set and so forth. Like, I think Groove Cruise Cabo 2018, somebody asked us like, hey, you want to come in the Haven Suite and play in after hours? And they're like, well, I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, how long can we go? As long as you want. I'm like, all right, you need a bottle of shivas because you get more shivas for Louis, right? The longer we go. And that was actually our longest set ever. And that was 5.5 hours.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Awesome. Well, you know, you guys have definitely been killing it. You know, are there any dream festivals or shows or gigs that you guys would love to play at in the near future?
For me, I don't think I have a dream gig or show as much as I just want to play for people who appreciate music, that just don't want the typical. You know, the festivals, like I said, by no means am I criticizing anyone in terms of what they play, because there's a place for everything. But I think the festivals has gotten to a point, to a certain extent, that everyone goes out of their way to try to make the crowd happy. Not that you shouldn't make them happy. You should play music they hate. I'm not saying that. But, you know, I come from an age where, you know, you used to go to a club and you wouldn't know one song that was played for 5 hours. And there was a real journey there. There was a real, and don't get me wrong, in a festival, you're only playing an hour. It's very difficult for some of these places. But I think a lot of the bigger DJs have gotten away from actually, you know, opening people's ears. They tend to do what the easy thing is. And the easy thing is, because I produce well, I can play a remix of a certain song that maybe nobody has, but it's the same vocal. It's the same thing because I'm at a festival. I want them to all sing along. Then the next guy does the next guy. I would like to play at a place that's just, they just appreciate what you do. You know, they want to hear what you really have going on. They want to hear what you feel. They want to hear things they've never heard before. They want to take something away from there. You know, the festival life is fantastic, but it's light. It's a lot more going on than just a DJ. You can almost hear any DJ and have a good time. You're like, oh my God, there's something going on. You know, where I want the focal point to be music. You know, it's great to have the lights. It's great to have the dancers. I mean, that's the one thing about group cruise is that a lot of us are locals, and we do our stages. We don't have the same entertainment as some of the bigger, you know, DJs that come on, and that's okay with me. You know what I mean? Is it great to have? Yeah, but you know, again, it's about the experience. So to me, any bigger gig or any place I could be where that experience is just magnified in that way, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that, right? I mean, there are some, probably if I have to name a festival, I'll name one, right? I'll be the guy, I'll name the one festival. I've always wanted to play, and with us, it's Tomorrowland.
Mm.
So for us to go out to Belgium and play that, I mean, you see the videos. I've never gone, you
Yeah.
know, but you see the videos, and it's just like, wow, like it just blows my mind. It's just like the production and everything, and it's so international based, right? Because you have people from all over the world that are coming there, and just for that, because I mean, obviously compared to festivals in the US, right? It's, you don't get that whole international flavor, like international crowd, because Tomorrowland, the cool thing about it, you just see all the flags from all the countries. People are holding them up with pride, and that's something that's like, that would be my dream probably festival, to be able to play something like that.
I'm going this year, so I'll bring my crystals and I'll manifest something for
Nice.
y'all. Like,
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it'll be my first time going, so I'm definitely really excited for that as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Well, in the spirit of Groove Cruise, I gotta have some Groove Cruise questions for y'all. So, if you two were the captain, we're all captains, but captain of the ship, where would you steer us to? Anywhere in the world for the next Groove Cruise? And let's say it's not Cabo, just for the sake of it.
Ibiza.
I would say Ibiza or Cuba, just because
Ooh,
we've.
that'd be
Cuba
fun.
would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
I would agree with that. Ibiza and
Actually,
Cuba.
if I had a choice too, I would like to do a winter cruise. I think that would be kind of cool, like somewhere in Alaska, like doing something like just out there where you
I
can
can't
get up
believe
the boat and go
so
like
that's trifecta. I
sledding with,
did
like,
his last
dogs
one.
or
He said
something crazy.
Alaska. I was like, who the heck's gonna say Alaska? But apparently,
No, and it's I heard that cruise. My mom's gone and my uncle and aunt have gone.
That's amazing.
And they loved
That's
it.
amazing.
They're like, oh my God. And that's something that I want to go. I want to actually go experience it because how much they loved it.
Yeah, winter
All
cruise
right.
would probably be kind of cool.
Let me report back to Jason tomorrow when we do his sit down.
Well, he
Okay.
also may say a winter cruise just because he's in Miami. If you
Yeah.
ask me in the
It's
summer, maybe
It's always
right
hot.
now, I'd be like,
It's super hot.
Oh
It's,
my
it's,
God.
it's painfully hot all year round.
if I don't see snow, I can deal with the cold, but if I don't see snow, I'm good.
Okay, so let's say you each then arrive to this destination, wherever it is, could be Cuba, could be Alaska. You are stranded there alone, not with each other, alone. What would each one of you guys bring? I'm allowing you 3 items.
My music,
Okay.
pizza,
Pizza, got it. Gotta have pizza.
and let's see, my wife.
Okay. All right. You kind of answered my next question too then. Okay, what about you, Neil?
I think he stole a couple of mine already, but so I definitely my drums, right? Music, because I would just, if I'm there by myself, then it's like, all right, well, might as well, because that's what makes me happy. Keeps my mind off everything. Definitely my girlfriend, I would bring her, and then I think, the other thing is, I would probably want to bring my laptop. So, not to like communicate, right? But if I'm just like, being an IT guy is my background, I'd want to do some stuff to keep my, keep things going, learn more about my career and whatever in that aspect.
Okay, awesome. And then since you guys have been on so many Groove Cruises, what's been your just favorite thing about it?
The Groove Cruise fam, I think the relationships we've established, we met so many people, like a lot of people would be close friends of mine now, and ours, it's just the family aspect, right? Because everybody's just out, supports everybody, they look out for each other. You don't get that in other festivals, right? Festivals of people are there, it's just for a weekend, and it's on land, and most people you don't know or interact with, right? Because people are going stage to stage to stage, like big production stages, obviously, right? Compared to like on the ship, we're all on the ship together. Even though it's big, this past one was obviously the biggest one that we've been on, but you still have that sense of Groove Cruise fam, that they'll come support you. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? And even artist wise, I've been able to meet a lot of the artists I've become good friends with, same with Louis, or people we've known and respected and get to spend some time with them. You know, you can't beat that because you don't really get that opportunity elsewhere.
Mhm.
So while I would go with completely what Bam said, 100%, and that'd be the first thing I would say, I'll come up with something that's a little different. I'm not a big partier, but I always tell people what makes group cruise special, whether or not it's the fam or not. If you take those things away, if you like to party or you like WMC or you really like festivals, I'm like, what group cruise does is it eliminates all the things you would worry about. If you drink, you're not driving home.
You're walking
You're not
down the
worried,
stairs.
you're not worried about the ropes getting in. You're not worried about a dress code. You're not worried about carrying your phone if you really don't want to take pictures because there's no service. You're not worried about cash and you're not worried about keys because all you have everything in your room card. So it can't be any easier for you to have a good time and not worry about all the things that we worry about going on a normal basis between driving, keys, money, how we're dressed, time frame in terms of when we should be home if we're working tomorrow or anything like that. Like it really gives you a sense of freedom if this is what you really want to do. Like if going to a party or listening to music is something that you're on group cruise for, it gives you that sense of freedom that you don't have to worry. And I think that's what creates that family vibe, and that's what creates everything else, because we're not worried about anything else other than the relationships that we acquire and facilitate during the cruise. You know, that's, we're not worried about it. There's nothing else to consider. You know, we can look out for each other. If someone, you know, falls down, you're picking them up. If someone's too drunk, you're making sure they're in a chair and they're okay, because that would never happen anywhere else. Even at conference or at a festival or anywhere else, that would never happen. You know, that's what makes group cruise special, that there are things that happen on that cruise that can't happen anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I love that. That's
And
actually
also, when you think about it, and this is something I like to tell DJs when maybe they play too commercial, for instance, and they don't really want to. I'm like, what are they going to do? Jump off the ship? Play what you want to play. Play what you feel. You know, do you. You know, when you're traveling and or you have a residency somewhere, you have to look out for the club. You have to look out for the dance floor. You have to look out for the people. It's a business. And people forget that. If you're a resident somewhere, you can't just play what you want all the time because you need to create revenue for that club. No one's owning a club for the sake of owning it. And if my cat wants to buy one of them.
Cat wants some FaceTime.
And
I love that. That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
When you're at the group cruise, I try to tell all of these guys, you know, the younger guys that I meet that are friends, I'm like, you know, don't tell me you do, oh, well, I played that way because, you know, people want to sing. Well, no. Play you. Let them appreciate you as an artist. Where they're going to go. It's not like they're going to, even if they walk away, it's not like, you know, Jason's going to complain that 10 people walk from the pool to another party. Like, play you, you know, establish who you are as an artist. Give yourself that identity, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, and it's not group cruise related, but I think, you know, when the pandemic started, right, everything was, all the DJs were on Twitch, right? And they were doing their streams. You saw a lot of the DJs who you would normally see play at a festival or at a club play a certain way. You actually saw them get to play the way they actually wanted to play, right? Because a lot of the guys, like, you know, Cascade, for example, right? Cascade's from Chicago originally, but when you see him play, he plays a lot more like the, you know, his hits and the mainstream. But when he does his Redux sets, right, all the house music. So like you saw a lot of those guys like just going back to their roots or back to what they really love, and that's kind of what, you know, Louis says to them, to these guys too, right? Play what you love, because when you play what you love, you really, really show it. You bring out that vibe and the energy. And that's kind of what that's why for us, we love doing it, right? He plays what he loves. I love the music. We have great taste. We have similar taste in music, and it works out.
Yeah, so we were actually there. So we were hanging out with some of the Ophelia crew. There was the Born stage on, like, I think Saturday. So they all played kind of their dubstep, their melodic stuff. But then when they got to play on the pool, because I think it was like their third or fourth set, they were like, we're just gonna flow with it. Like, we're here on Groove Cruise, we're gonna have a good time. They were just like, I'm gonna play whatever. I'm gonna play some psytrance. Like, and it was awesome. It was epic. And you don't really get to do that everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it special. It makes, you know, you get to go away with something else. And like I said, as a DJ, all you want to do is create moments that people take away. If you can do that, then you did your job. You know.
Yeah.
You did your job.
Yeah. Awesome. So next Groove Cruise, we're definitely Neon Owl's definitely coming back. We're gonna do a bunch of charity stuff with Wet Foundation. We're gonna maybe do some artist activations, which there's a ton of cool things. What would each one of you want to see as far as activity at a
As an
future Groove
example,
Cruise? Like, like there was like the let's say wine tasting. There was like the hot wing thing. So if you could like pick your own for the next one that hasn't been done yet, what would that be?
hasn't been done. Wow.
Yeah,
I don't
has
know.
not been done yet.
Oh
So
man, I mean, we've pretty much done it. They've done it all. I mean,
you're
you've
like,
had
I've never done it
dinners,
all.
you've had excursions, you've had Q&As. Uh, you know what I'd probably like? I'd like DJ booth interaction because everybody always wants to be in a DJ booth, and really only other artists get to be there.
Mhm.
I would love a stage that they create where you literally can be right next to whomever's playing. And again, that would have a lot to do with the DJs who are playing being okay with that, because a lot of them, I'm not saying the people should be on top of him, but being able to experience that feeling. How many times do you go to a booth and you're like, oh man, I want to take a picture in the booth. I want to be with it. Security doesn't let them in. So it'd
Mhm.
probably be some type of DJ interaction that way while the event's going on, to make the regular fans feel as special as they really are, because without them, we're nothing. So I love having people around me when I'm DJing. I don't like that separate feeling. That's not something I really enjoy. I mean, I could DJ. I mean, like most people, we could DJ anywhere, but I feed off of that, and most DJs do, whether you're introverted or not. So I enjoy that. As long as they're not touching the equipment or on top of me while I'm moving, I would love to have people
Or
around.
spilling drinks on your,
Oh yeah, well,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Okay, that actually sounds really awesome. Very groove cruisy too.
Yeah.
Like if you ask me.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go a different route. I think I have two of them. So one of them, because obviously sports are a big thing, right? Like I did the basketball one in 2020. I filled in for Gene Ferris. Gene's like, I'm not feeling too well. I'm like, I got you. I did it. Because and then obviously normally they would do the soccer match. I think obviously this
Yeah.
year with COVID and being the sports deck being utilized as a stage, they held off on those. But I think they should bring dodgeball in it.
Ooh, that's gonna be intense.
And you could do a trance versus the house guys or tech house guys, right?
That's
You
a
could
good
do
one.
something like that. I think dodgeball, and then me being the gambler that I love playing,
Oh
do a
Lord.
Texas Hold'em tournament, because I'd love to play some Texas Hold'em on there.
They haven't done cards or anything like that, right?
They've done blackjack. They did blackjack in 2020 and maybe 2019, I think. One of those years they did blackjack. So I think that's kind of about it. But if they did like a quick sit down tournament, not like one of those that's going to take 4 or 5 hours, right? Make it, if they made a quick tournament like that, I think that'd be fun. I would do that. I would host that because I love playing Texas Hold'em.
Awesome. All right. Well, we took those notes down. So let's see what we come up with for the next cruise. Before we wrap up, I mean, really appreciate, you guys' time. I just want to end with, what's something that you each are grateful for in this moment?
Yeah.
Me, just grateful to have the opportunity to play music, right? I think when it ties to that, I mean, I love performing. That's kind of, music's been part of my life since I was a baby. My mom's a professional musician from India, and, just kind of instituted in me. And that's why she's always on me about practicing. And she gives me that inspiration to practice. I mean, I'm not going to sidetrack, but she's 80 years old and she still practices, she still teaches music, and she's actually going to kill me. I just said her age, but so she's,
Sorry, Mom.
sorry, Mom, but she still practices 2 to 3 hours a day still. And that gives me, and for me, it's just, the opportunity to be able to play music. I'm so grateful for that, to be able to do it, and looking forward to playing more and more and more. It's just because that's gives me my break from the rest of the world, right? When I'm behind the drums, I block everything out, and it's just like, it's my happy place.
Yeah, I'm just grateful, and I'll keep it simple. I'm grateful for waking up. Like, you don't really think about that much, but every day that you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, you got another day. And sometimes we go to sleep at night just thinking that that's a given. So, I do take, I'm not saying every day is a great day, but I definitely take a moment in the morning where I'm like, I'm in another day. Like, I'm still here, because, especially during COVID, when we've lost a lot of friends and people and who've gotten sick, maybe it made us realize we took certain things for granted. You know, whether it be socializing, whether being able to see our friends and traveling and music, everything. You know, everything that we appreciated, whether it be taking a bike ride outside, whether it be just sitting with friends without a mask on. So just the life, you know, to appreciate life, to wake up and say, hey, I have another day. You know, I tell people all the time, like, hey, what are you gonna do tomorrow? I'm like, hopefully wake up. You know, what more could you ask for at that point in time? At least when you wake up, you got a chance of something else, you know? So I'm grateful for that. You know, I'm grateful for music. I'm grateful for everything else we can talk about, family, you know, my daughter, my wife, everything, you know, my cats. I love my cats.
Me too. How many you got?
I have 2 hairless cats.
Okay.
But you know, that's what I'm grateful for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys, and looking forward to maybe see you in Miami next month, Louis, and then definitely in October on Groove Cruise.
Well, hopefully we'll have them come down. We're trying to work some things out.
So we have a little change based on what we talked about.
Oh, okay. So the combo
yeah.
has changed since a few days ago. Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much.
No,
Thank you so much, Elaine.
Appreciate
it.